Hi everyone, and welcome back to Newtopia. So hopefully you've got your coffee on us. We're looking forward to having another thorough discussion about the breakdown in human health and how Newtopia is leading the way with disease prevention, specifically focusing on the 50% who we know are at risk of developing a chronic disease. Now with me today we have Deandra Ford. Hey Deandra.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us from your busy schedule.
No problem.
Now Deandra leads our care team. And if you want to know what that is, you're going to have to listen to the whole webinar. Essentially, we have two crews of professionals, a team of specialized coaches who partner with our participants to ensure that they reach their optimal goals in healthcare, meaning they get away from that disease curve. On the other hand, we also know that we need to give high care of service to these participants to ensure that they stay and remain on the journey throughout the 12 to 24-month period. So Deandra is going to share more with us about these two journeys of both having a care specialist team as well as an Inspirator team help our participants reach their goals. More about that in a moment. So Deandra, bear with me because I want to make sure for all of our new viewers out there, and thank you to all of our new consultants, that we're catching you up with what you may have missed. Over the course of the past couple of months, Jeff Ruby, our founder and CEO, and myself, Lara Dodo, Chief Commercialization Officer, we spent time going through really 4 key categories, and they are the following. That we know there's a breakdown in human health, and left alone, we have approximately 50% of the population who are at risk of developing heart disease, stroke, or diabetes type 2. This is all avoidable, of course, not to mention the financial benefits for our large employers out there when they do the right thing in creating life-changing opportunities. We also know, though, that anything with lifestyle has a very high rate of relapse or reoccurrence. So the ability to drive sustainable behavior change is imperative. Enter Newtopia. And that led us to our most recent webinar where we discussed DPP programs versus a Newtopia. And our conclusion was it's not an either or, it's an and. You know, we can get out the gates and get onto healthier living, but because of relapse, if we don't have sustainability factors in place, the likelihood is that we're going to revert back to where we started and sometimes even worse. So today we really wanted to focus on what does Newtopia actually do to put these folks onto the right journey with sustainable outcomes, and introduce the personalization piece, which prior webinar we shared, personalization just isn't a person chatting to folks, but it's really meeting people where they're at in terms of their current lifestyle, in terms of their personality and other details that I know you're going to share with us.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to stop right there for a moment and welcome everyone again to a webinar series. If you haven't seen Jeff Ruby's previous webinar series delving into those topics, please do take a look. But for today, we're going to get right into the fact that our participants, when they hit register, their life is about to change. So Diandra, let me paint a picture.
Yes.
I'm an at-risk professional, right? My employer has created this life-changing opportunity. I've been reached out to by Newtopia after receiving my biometric results that I'd won the lotto, not the lotto I wanted, but I'm at risk, right? Yeah. Share with me how my journey goes from there. I've registered for Newtopia. Now what?
Yeah, so right away, our care specialist team steps in to take care of you. So think of our care specialists almost as like a concierge service. They are there from the get-go to onboard you, make sure onboarding goes completely smooth, introduce you to our technology like our app, our scale, our Fitbit, and then most importantly, introduce you and get you set up with your Inspirator. From there, the Inspirator steps in, and that's who our participants meet with on a weekly basis. Those are the ones that help sort of cater to your lifestyle, your routine, your preferences, your genetic results, and really facilitate sustainable behavior change, right? So, and then they're supported by the care specialists, again, their concierge team. They're not only there in the beginning, they're there the whole way through to make sure their experience is the best it possibly can.
Right. Now, there's a lot of information in there. Yeah. I'm going to chunk that down a little. All right. So right at the beginning, you spoke about a scale and various other fun gadgets.
Yes.
So I believe we talk about that being a welcome kit.
Yes.
Right. So walk me through. I've signed up. What is in that welcome kit, and how is it used to put me on this journey to sustainable health change?
Yeah, so the welcome kit, that's your starting off point. So we have our cellular scale or wireless scale in there that is hooked up to all of your devices and your app, Your Inspirators can see that. That means anytime a participant steps on that scale we provide them, their Inspirator sees it, and that's just another added accountability piece.
Right.
So that's one thing in there. The second thing is an activity tracker. So once again, syncs up to their app, their Inspirator can see it. That just helps your Inspirator and yourself know how much are you moving? What are you doing today? Are you doing more or less than you thought you would? Should we be aiming for higher? It's just another piece to that awareness picture. We also have a measuring tape in there just to let you know your waist circumference.
Right.
That's something we like to take every couple of months just to see. It's just another measure for progress, right? It's a slower one, which isn't why we're talking about it every single week, but still a very important one, right? We know all of that visceral fat is around the stomach, so we want to keep an eye on it.
Right. What about genetics? You spoke a little bit about that. How do I gain access to this genetic testing?
Yeah, so that's another thing that happens in the welcome kit. So when you get it, it's just a simple spit test where you're just spitting into a tube, and then you send that off to the lab. We test for a few results, which we'll get into a little later. And once again, your Inspirator uses that information as well to just create a really well-rounded whole approach to behavior change.
That's fantastic. So I've got my scale, I've got my activity tracker, I've got my measuring tape, and I'm going to spit into a tube to figure out a little bit about my genetics.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about personality matching. So it sounds to me like I haven't coached with anybody yet.
Not yet.
How does the personality play come in?
Yeah, so the care specialists, they take all the information our participant has given them up until this point, which is their personal assessment. They've gotten a chance to talk to them on the phone for a little bit. And based on all of that information, they then pick a Inspirator that they feel will suit them best, right? So we have the results from their assessment, which give us a really great picture of who we're working with and sort of their traits and their tendencies, and we have our Inspirators do the exact same test, and then we match up accordingly.
So Jeff Ruby, if he was here, our founder, would talk about an eHarmony style match, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We've definitely heard that reference before.
Exactly. Now, for our consultants out there wondering who's an Inspirator, these are our coaches who are, come to us with a very strong background, highly trained, ready to help partner with our participants on their life-changing journey. But I put myself into a participant's shoes. I'm a working mom juggling a busy schedule, travel. Healthy eating is not always at the top of my list. Sometimes it just takes too much time to figure out. How is an Inspirator really, quite frankly, qualified to help me navigate this difficult path of healthier living and lifestyle management?
So when searching for Inspirators, we look for 3 specific backgrounds. That's nutrition, and exercise science or kinesiology, and psychology. So every single Inspirator we have here has one or multiple of those following backgrounds. So those are really important for us to have that sort of diverse background because we know everyone's different, right? So let's take nutrition, for example. Someone may have trouble with portion sizes, right? That could be one struggle. Someone else may have trouble really knowing what are the right foods. Like, what should I be eating? I'm not sure. Someone else may, like you said, just, I know what I should be doing. I know what I should be eating, but how do I actually do it, right? Those are all related to nutrition, but 3 very different challenges, and we have an Inspirator for each of those things.
That's great. So I'm stacking it up. I've had my personality eHarmony match happen. I'm going to be introduced to my coach who's going to be suited to me to understand my lifestyle and my requirements. Where do the genetics come in?
Yeah, so we talked about the spit test that they do as soon as they get onboarded in their welcome kit. Once we get the results in, we have what we call a genetic reveal, which is a coaching session that's completely dedicated to breaking down these results. Like, what does this all mean?
Right.
How does this apply to me? Okay, so we test for 3 genes here at Newtopia, and only the 3 genes. We are GINA compliant, HIPAA compliant. We're only looking for 3 genes our experts have determined are important for eating behavior, weight loss. So our first one, which I am unlucky enough to have, is called FTO, or body fat gene. And this just means someone like me who has a variation in this are more prone to gaining weight. My body doesn't break it down as well. I tend to hold on to it. So it's important for me when I'm exercising or working out to work out at a vigorous intensity, right? Like a nice leisurely walk around the block's not going to work for me. I'm going to have to go for a run.
I'm sorry about that.
Unfortunately, yeah. So that's one gene that we test for. Another one that's called DRD2 is related to dopamine, which is the happy hormone. It's basically what's responsible for making you feel pleasure and making you feel good. So these people tend to crave those really salty, sugary, fatty foods.
That's me.
Yeah, basically all the good stuff, right? So they really crave that. So an Inspirator who's working with someone with that variation, they're going to focus more on what can we substitute, right? Whether that's an activity to also, because activity also releases dopamine. So is it switching it for something active? Is it maybe playing a game, finding other ways to get that happiness, release that happy hormone? Or it could be something as simple as maybe doing like celery with peanut butter. So you get that nice crunch, but you get that bit of salty.
That's a great idea.
That's the second gene. And then the third and final gene is related to a hormone called leptin, which is basically just your stomach telling your brain that you're full. So for most people, that takes around 20 minutes. For someone with this variation, it takes a little longer. So I think we all have that feeling on maybe like Thanksgiving dinner where it's like you're eating, you're full, and you just need to lie down. So this is reality for a lot of people with this gene all the time, right? They're eating to feel full, they're eating to feel satisfied, and they're not getting that feeling, so they keep going. They keep eating more, and then all of a sudden, bam, it just hits them, and they are stuffed.
That's right.
Right? So what we really focus on someone with this variation is just slowing down their eating. There are little tricks that you could do, like sipping water between bites, putting your fork between bites, really like counting how many times you chew, just little things like that that you don't really think about but can really help slow down your eating.
You know, they're great, and I think a lot of it is very practical, but it's only practical once you have someone to help you navigate that journey, right?
Absolutely.
I do know for a lot of our participants out there and our customers have a sense of nervousness about the genetic testing, and we try and help educate that this is not 23andMe style genetics. It really is just specifically these 3 genes linked to how your body processes food and how your body reacts to exercise if you have certain genetic makeups, really.
Yes.
And while it is recommended within the program to give it that extra X factor, it is not mandatory. So Newtopia is still highly effective without the genetic component, but the genetics really do kind of add that final piece to the puzzle.
Absolutely, right? It's just another personalization layer that we're adding in, right? Just sort of helping us help point our participants into the right direction.
That's right.
It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's definitely helpful.
Absolutely. So we talk a lot about the fact that Newtopia is best of high touch, smart touch. So if we to delve a little bit into, we know the high touch is our Inspirator and our care specialist are really wrapping our arms around the participant in this, meeting them where they're at experience. But what do we mean by smart touch?
So we have a lot of supporting technology. So I briefly touched on our scale, our app, our Fitbit, but I really think one of our great tools are our app. That's something like everything in the app has either been pushed there by their Inspirator, everything our participants put in there gets seen by our Inspirator. And it's really a Newtopia goal tracking app, right? So that's a supporting tool. We would love for our Inspirators to be able to be with our participant every step of the way, but that's just not realistic. So we have this app to really help support that. So anything a participant talks to their Inspirator about at the end when they determine what their goal for the next week is going to be, an Inspirator pushes that into the app, and it's there for a participant to help tide them over, help remind them what they're working on, like their little tips and tricks until they meet again next week, right? That's right. And like I was saying, that tech, the app, the Fitbit, all of that also all syncs up to there. So it's a nice full picture.
Right. So a real story, I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago in New York, and through a discussion with a customer and various partners through our channel that we work with, who two of the members there were Newtopians, very successful Newtopians, and one of the individuals was saying she had her homework to do because she had a coaching call coming up, and her goal from the week was, various activity pieces that she was achieving in the app, because the app is gamified.
Yes,
Candy Crush style, right?
Yes.
Lets you know when you're winning awards.
Just a reminder, yeah.
So the friendly push, but also had a video content that our Inspirators had pushed to her specific to where she was at in the journey. And she needed to watch this video content, which was her Inspirator giving curriculum, to be prepared for a more meaningful one-on-one coaching session, to then set goals and regroup on kind of the next steps of her journey. So it was great to hear that, from someone in a live setting. But what really struck me was the level of accountability, Deandra, because through the meeting, person X, let's call her, was saying essentially she has homework to do.
Yes.
And so here we were in the middle of, a pretty intense meeting, but a Newtopian still being held accountable. To your point, the Inspirator can't go home with her every day, but through the app accountability, it was gamified, it was fun, but it was also very real and making a real impact in prepping her for the next part of her journey. So if I left out anything in terms of that app that you would say, other than the gamification, tracking of activity, the ability to snap and track food intake, and obviously the goals in education, anything else that you would say we're hearing feedback on as to the impact of the technology or the app?
Yeah, one other little fun thing about the app, which really little, it doesn't really change the experience, but participants are loving, is there also is a nice little bio about their Inspirator there. So just to learn a little bit more about that person that you speak to every week, it's just like a fun little bio, and our participants are absolutely loving that.
Exactly. What's the real piece, right? These are real people who really care. It's not a pre-packaged up program, right? It's fluid and real.
Exactly.
That's right. So something else that I think for our consultant group out there to know is our Inspirator team works on a CRM of Salesforce. So through their dashboarding, they have real life view on, for each participant, how they're progressing towards their goals, what activities being tracked, what food, nutrition has been going on, scale activity we spoke about. And there's a lot behind then the wellness component of a program where for many of our participants, as you know, they're just not comfortable seeing their weight visually displayed. And so even that helps our Inspirators really be able to meet that participant where they're at, to even build that confidence and to maybe not view weigh-ins as a negative, but as an opportunity to really be more in control of their pathway. Is that make sense, or would you have anything to add to that?
Absolutely. That's one of the things when I was an Inspirator full-time that I really focused on. Like there are always those people who are hesitant to speak on or to step on the scale, regardless of where they are in their journey. And I tried really hard to make it, it's not about the number. The number is arbitrary, it's irrelevant. It's about the progress, right? We're stepping on the scale just to see, like, are we on the right track? Or do we need to switch things up a little bit? It doesn't have to be a big, huge ordeal, and it's really sort of changing people's relationship with the scale and what it means is a big part of what an Inspirator does as well.
That's right. So I want to change gear a little bit. I'd love to be able to share that we score a 10 out of 10 every day, but we don't, right? We individuals dealing with individuals. But what we do know in general business sense is that in a customer service team, if you're waiting for people to call you, it's not usually for good reasons. No. Right. So maybe share with us a little bit the role that your care specialists play. They are essentially frontline concierge customer service experts, right?
Absolutely.
What is their role, and really once they've onboarded those participants and matched them up eHarmony style, what happens next?
Yeah, so after they onboard and introduce to the Inspirator, they don't just disappear. They are there every step of the way, both front and center and behind the scenes. So we do regular just check-in calls with all of our participants throughout regular intervals just to see, hey, how's it going? Are you still liking your Inspirator? Are you still liking the program? We collect any and all feedback, good and bad. We want to hear it all because, like you said, I don't want you to call me and tell me that you're fed up. I want to know if there's just any inkling of just a less than excellent experience. I want to know about it right away. So that's why we just regular reach out, make sure everyone's happy. all the time. Another thing within our company, our care specialists are huge participant advocates.
Yes.
They deal with a lot of the other teams, our tech and development team, our marketing team, testimonial team, product team, always just giving their input as to what they feel participants need.
So really the voice of the participant.
Absolutely.
You know, that's a great point, because as I look at how our technology is evolving, so much of the feedback is coming directly through the voice of the participant that's channeled through your team of care specialists.
Yes.
It's very good. You know, something else that as you're chatting through, I'm thinking about is, you know, we talk about the front end, the participant, you know, the calls they'll receive, but what is happening operationally in the background is your team does a tremendous job as well of kind of keeping a bird's eye view on, are these participants tracking to the progress that we would expect for different periods of time in our program? And I've seen them do a really good job about paying different inspirators, saying, hey, you know, a little bit of an internal accountability. What's happening here? And really digging in. And I know that the team is tremendous in reaching out to our internal experts, our psychologists, our geneticists, our dietitians, and various other crew to make sure that if there is any kind of fine-tuning of programming that needs to happen, that we are really agile in making that work.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you guys on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they are, like I said, huge advocates for the team. They're good at keeping our internal team accountable, right? Our Inspirators keep our participants accountable. Our care specialists keep our Inspirators accountable.
That's exactly right. So if I do a frame up, you know, for those of you who have joined in late, during the course of the last few months through our webinar series, we've spoke a lot about the breakdown in human health. And Newtopia is specifically targeting the approximately 50% of Americans who are at risk of developing a metabolic disease. What does that even mean? It's heart disease, stroke, or diabetes type 2. Now, diabetes type 2 gets a lot of airtime for various reasons we won't go through to today, but there are two other very preventable diseases in that bucket, stroke and heart disease. And left alone, this group of folks will develop a disease, right? Folks who are at risk. And at risk means they've tested with 2 out of the 5 risk factors that we've discussed in previous webinars. We also know that left alone, they're going to cost our employers approximately $16,233 before you take in lots of productivity, work morale, family impact. So the key message we've shared with many of our employers who have signed up with Newtopia is when you do the right thing and create a life-changing opportunity for your employees, you're going to do the right thing for the business too, because we have a proven out ROI of 2x through our randomized control trial with Aetna. So it's a great news story really of when you do the right thing by the people, the right thing for the business will be rewarded as well. And so it's just great to dig into some of the personal pieces. So as we kind of get to wrapping up, and I have a few more questions for you, I just want to make sure we've covered. We've spoken about that participant who's raised their hand because the employers allowed Newtopia to create this life-changing opportunity. They've said, help me. So they're ready and they want to make a change. They are onboarded from your care specialist, thoroughly kind of investigate, if you will, maybe that's the wrong word, but understood, right, about their current lifestyle, their personality, their challenges, their genetic makeup as it relates to really dietary aspects. They are assigned an Inspirator, eHarmony style. Inspirator wraps their arms around them and takes them through a journey with weekly coaching, using the best of technology to push out meaningful, personalized goals that make sense of where that individual's lifestyle's at, based on exercise, nutrition, and wellness, right? Getting them to an end journey. And there's lots of details that make that happen. What is the end journey? Let's say 12-month snapshot. How do we know if we've actually reached this end journey goal?
So our goal here at Newtopia is 5%. That's sort of our magic number, if you will. That's what we're aiming. Every single participant that registers, we're aiming to get them to 5%. We've picked this number because it is clinically significant, right? Like this is the number that has shown us is going to have the most impact on our participants' lives. They're going to feel better. They're going to look better. They're going to have more energy. All of those things that they're sort of aiming for when they hit register tend to happen after 5%. So that's our goal for them. We want them to get there. We want them to really change their lives.
You know, and you bring a big point up. You know, weight is not the only proxy of success when you're talking about disease prevention. It's the most commonly used proxy, but there are, you know, probably more accurately comparing biometric data from the entry point to a one-year review, or the fact that a participant can come off their medication, or the anecdotal, I could walk my grandchild to the park and I've never been able to do that. So there's a lot more in there, but for simplicity for today, we're talking about the weight loss. I would just quickly mention that if anyone is saying, is Newtopia the fastest way to lose weight? I would say absolutely not. Right? This is not a quick fix, can I fit into a bikini for the summer program?
No,
right?
Not at all.
This is lifestyle behavior change, which unfortunately there's no easy button. Relapse is high, which is why the program is so specifically designed for this high touch, smart touch, incremental gains to make sure that any of these changes are locked in. So before I let you go, final question for you.
Okay.
4 years, a tremendous career with Newtopia. You've touched the hearts and minds of many. But what is the story that has touched your heart and mind the most that you can share with us?
Well, there's one participant that comes to mind. My favorite participant when I was full-time coaching. She actually still coaches with Newtopia.
Oh, wow.
She's with a different Inspirator now, but she's still here. So we started off rocky, I would say.
Okay.
I worked really hard with her to sort of come up with small, sustainable changes. We would agree to it at the end of our session, and next week we'd come back and she hadn't done them. So after a couple weeks of that, we just had to have a really real, frank conversation about what she wanted to achieve. After we had that conversation, we completely scrapped everything we'd worked on, and so she started off our journey as someone who just was not very physically active. It was hard for her to just get up and move around the house. After working together and progressing, she advanced to someone who now goes to the gym regularly and walks 2 to 4 miles leisurely throughout the day just for fun. So she has come a long way. By the end of my journey with her, before I passed her on for the next stage, she had already lost 50 pounds.
Congratulations, fantastic.
She was amazing. She deserves full credit for it.
And I can see the passion. And you know what's so true is that when you're dealing with reality, real life stories, it's the fact that someone is panicking that they can't make it to the washroom one time as an obese woman. And through a Newtopia program, their whole world has changed, not only from disease prevention, which obviously is the goal and the key trigger, but from not having to live your life in fear of not making the washroom. These are significant milestones in life, so in quality of life.
Absolutely.
So congratulations to you and the team. Please do not hesitate to reach out to myself, Lara Dodo, or Jeff Ruby, or any of our team at Newtopia. We stand on ready to help you help create life-changing opportunities for your employers out there. Thanks so much and take care. And don't forget, if you didn't get a coffee, it's not too late. Ping us. We'll make sure to get that voucher over to you. And bring some friends next time.